Okay, so what we're going to do in this short video is discuss what we mean by current and how we measure it. Now here's a diagram of a very simple circuit. We've got our battery and we've got our wire connecting each terminal of the battery. And in this particular diagram, each of those little green dots that we can see, each of those little green dots is an electron or represents an electron. And as you already know, these electrons will come out of the battery from the negative terminal and they'll travel in a clockwise direction around the circuit and then return to the positive terminal. And so they continue this path. They just keep on circulating around this circuit. Now, one of the things we actually want to discover or talk about is how we measure current. And current is measured in a unit called the amp. So current is measured in amperes. And we basically call that amps for short. So what is an amp? All right, in order to do that, we need to talk about something else called a coulomb. Now, if we imagine a group of electrons here. There's a whole bunch of electrons there, let's say. Now, there are countless numbers of electrons in an electric circuit like this. And so what physicists have done, they've actually come up with a unit which describes a whole heap of electrons. Now, if we imagine in this group of electrons here, there is 6.24 times 10 to the power of 18 electrons in that little group there, that number of electrons is called 1 coulomb. So that many electrons equals 1 coulomb of charge. Now you know that each electron has a fundamental charge of 1 negative charge. And it takes 6.24 times 10 to the 18 electrons to make up a charge of 1 coulomb. So coulomb is a measure of charge, the amount of charge. So 1 coulomb is the charge on 6.28 times 10 to the 18 electrons. So, if we imagine that whole group of electrons there being 1 coulomb, and we can imagine hopefully that there's another group of electrons here, there's another coulomb of electrons, and there's another coulomb of electrons, and another one, and so on. So we've got these large quantities of electrons flowing around the circuit. Now, if we had a turnstile, say we set up a turnstile in our circuit, an imaginary turnstile that counted. So a little turnstile here. And if this actually counts the number of coulombs that flow through that turnstile every second, what it's actually measuring is the current. So the current, which is measured in amps, is equal to the amount of charge that flows through that turnstile every second. So it's actually the amount of charge which we call, or we designate the letter Q, divided by the time it takes for that charge to travel. In other words, if 5 coulombs of charge, five of these orange groups of electrons, if 5 of those travel through that turnstile in 1 second, that would have a current, that would be a current of 5 amps, or 5 coulombs per second. So 1 amp is the same as 1 coulomb of charge flowing through our turnstile per second. 2 amps would be 2 coulombs per second, and so on. So the more current that's flowing around a circuit, the more charge is flowing per second. And that's what we mean by a current.